inspired you to become a community builder and an entrepreneur?
Certainly my grandfather was part of it, but when I was born, my mother couldn't have any more children. And so they started taking in foster children. They took in 76 foster children and adopted one. So I'm one of 81 children in my family. And it taught me, about how to organize, how to work with people. It taught me how to be ethical and honest and integrity and hustle and, all of the right kinds of things to be successful.
I said, how do you balance risk taking with responsibility, especially when building something meant to serve a community?
Well, first I started out with breakfast at Miapa. I started listening. I started, really truly using my ears instead of my mouth, because I feel like I, knew everything as it relates to because my father had done it. My father developed over 6,000 acres in Alachua County.
Wow.
So, it's like, hey, put in a road, put some buildings, whatever, right? It's like, nope, I'm going to do it different.
Hello, Fiesteros. Este es Elio Piedra. This is Elio Piedra, and you are enjoying the Elio Piedra Podcast. What a pleasure. What an episode. The number 12 after we came back with this wonderful platform. We are here from Fiesta Radio 95.7 Studios. We are the one and only radio station, Latino radio station in Gator Nation. What an honor and privilege that we are going to be talking with, to me personally, one of the most impactful entrepreneurs that we have not only in Alachua County, but to me, that I personally know. He is the funniest, okay? He is one of the most successful ones. He is a great leader. He is a great human being making a difference within our Alachua County. He's a sustainable community builder and the co-founder of one of the most impactful and fastest growing companies and projects in the entire state of Florida, San Felasco Tech City. Let's welcome the one and only, ladies and gentlemen, Mitch Glaeser.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mitch, I'm so excited.
That's a heck of an introduction. I was worried there for a little while.
Yeah.
Well, you said I was funny, and that's very concerning.
Well, I have fun every time I am with you. You are always making these jokes, and and I love it.
Well, I've been teaching you English.
Yes, I know. Remember when we used to practice the
But I still have not mastered that. In fact, I don't even want anyone else to hear me do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Genuinely, it's an honor to be here, and I'm really a raving fan of everything you're doing and have been doing for a very long time. You have the discipline to keep with it, and you have been true to yourself and your family. It's wonderful, and the impacts that you've had to this community cannot go understated, and I genuinely mean that. When I think about I've lived here my whole life, and when I think about people trying to make our community better and keep the fun culture that that I've grown up here to enjoy, and for giving people, time to pause but also celebrate, I think that's incredibly important. And you always have been the one person that brings the energy to this community for all the celebrations that go on, including, if you'll remember, 5.5 years ago, we did our grand opening at San Felasco Tech City. It's hard to believe that it's been about 66 months ago, but it has gone very, very fast. But you were there, and I'll never forget that. We had the largest ribbon cutting in Alachua County history with over 600 people there. It was the most amazing thing that ever happened. But in terms of really celebrating a really game-changing development, which I've been very blessed to be a part of. But you have, again, every single time I come into the studio, and every time I interact with you out in the community and the volunteerism and the all the charity work that's being done in the community, you're always there by their side. And I just give you the highest compliment that I possibly could give anyone.
Wow. I mean, I am a specialist. What after that? Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And coming from you, it means a lot. It really means a lot. And you know, again, because of the admiration that I have for Mitch and also, and you are right, 5 years and a half ago, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. And I remember I was present the groundbreaking, and then we did the big grand opening.
Yes.
I never seen any grand opening here in Alachua County. Let me tell you. Okay, no one. Oh my goodness! Like everyone was there. I think we were only missing the president of the United States, right?
Something like that.
Yeah. Because every single leader, and that was a beautiful thing. Like seeing the leaders coming together, organizations, non-profits, you name it. Everyone, media outlets. That was beautiful.
Yeah. Well, you know, it takes so many different moving pieces to pull something like that off. Just from one, having the community recognize the kind of things that Rich Glaeser and I were trying to accomplish. You know, if you remember in the early days, a lot of people had doubts about us being able to accomplish what we were doing. There was, you know, people say it now, but truthfully, there were very few people who really thought we could do what we were trying to accomplish, to put an incredibly sustainable community between, you know, two communities out pretty much in the middle of nowhere in 441 between Alachua and Gainesville, and it has turned out to be a very, very strategically smart thing to do, because we're able to leverage off the assets of both communities.
Absolutely. And just to give you a little bit of context for people that are watching this, San Felasco Tech City, and we're going to get there. Trust me, we have so much to talk about. We have so much. It is one of the most incredible places that you can ever visit. If you are in Florida, just in the state, it doesn't matter if you are going to Gainesville or not. You're just passing through I-75. Make yourself a favor and then just take the exit of 399 and visit this incredible place, because what you're gonna see is entire community like is self-sustainable, and Mitch is being the co-founder of this. We're gonna get there because I am super excited about San Felasco Tech City and everything that is happening, and it's going to happen right there. But let's talk about your story and personal vision, okay? As an entrepreneur, so I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to become a community builder and an entrepreneur? Was there actually a defining moment in your life when you said, I want to be this entrepreneur? Anyone that inspired you?
So, you know, candidly, like many things in life, I'm not sure that we choose life. I think life chooses us in some form or another. And what I mean by that is, so the company I'm CEO of is, 102 years old this year. It was started by my grandfather, Mitchell Emory. The Emory Group companies, was born out of his love for, his companies that he has started. And he was a super impactful man. Started in Zephyr Hills, Florida, 1923. He was a post commander for the American Legion. He was a World War I veteran. He was an elected school board member. He did amazing amounts of philanthropy and community service and those kinds of things. Well, he passed away when my mother was 8 years old. And what's incredible about my grandfather, who of course I never met, but the impact that he had on not only my mother, but her entire family, and then to think that my grandmother, right, raised 6 young girls by herself. And so she had this leadership of really, talk about a very, very impactful woman. Was my mother was almost more impactful than my grandfather, because my grandfather passed and really laid upon her, a challenge, if you will, to really, to empower her children to grow up, be educated, to go on to be good people and productive people. And so my father was stationed at MacDill Air Force Base down in Tampa, which is near Zephyr Hills during the Korean War. They met, got married, and moved here in a 28-foot-long mobile home, and went to started going to college here in 1955 and has never left. And so from that, and you're asking where's this entrepreneurial spirit, certainly my grandfather was part of it, but when I was born, my mother couldn't have any more children. And so they started taking in foster children. And so again, through what I call DNA, in other words, my parents instilled in me, just by being part of their family network, if you will, even born DNA wise. But they took in 76 foster children and adopted one. So I'm one of 81 children in my family. And so they started the Foster Parent Association for the state of Florida, the Foster Parent Association for Alachua County. My dad was very involved. My mother was raising kids, which is, a passion-driven, but a job unto
full-time
itself.
Job,
full-time raising. They were first family that was certified for special needs. I have two deaf brothers. I have multi-racial, family, very mixed family. So I was exposed to this really neat cultural differences and so forth. But it taught me a lot, and it taught me, about how to organize, how to work with people. It taught me how to be ethical and honest and integrity and hustle and, all of the right kinds of things to be successful. And when you have great parents like that really allow you to blossom out of that, it's wonderful. Entrepreneurially, we certainly had a lot of, companies that my family was involved with and so forth. But I was really passionate about real estate. And so what I learned from my father, who got into real estate when I was born, I saw the real struggles. So really good times and really horrible times. And so I felt like I needed to start companies to give me stability of income. I started, retirement homes, copy centers, day spas, all kinds of different companies to give me this consistent revenue flow. And I did it under the guise of owning the real estate and then operating a business within it.
Wow.
So that's kind of how it really has all kind of articulated. And, so I've started 12 companies. I've exited out of most of them. And I've had some real, winners, and I've had some duds. And I learned a lot more from the duds than the winners, believe it or not.
And I want to get there because this is it, guys. This is crucial. So you said I have learned a lot. So what are one of the principles or some of the challenges or lessons that you have learned from those moments? So
I come from a kind of a school of thought that if we said, "Hey, we're going to sell microphones," right? I would be like, "Okay, well, it's what's the cost? Well, we could sell it for. Let's build a team and build it what we call the widget, right? So what's the widget? Is it a pen, a microphone, a desk, whatever, or a service even, right? So that's on the invention side. The entrepreneurial side is then taking it to the marketplace. So I always had a mindset that you just give me the widget and I'll be successful. And the fact of the matter is, and I learned this a long time ago, but there's another story because I did an advanced group for mentorship. It was a 2-year program. I had somebody come in once a month, very high level, kind of really impactful. These individuals are older, second and third generation family companies that were wanting to take their companies to a new level. And so we would meet once a month, and there were, I think, 10 of us, 10 or 12. I think it started out as 12, but it ended up at 10. But anyways, long story short of it all is, at 5 o'clock in the morning, if half a dozen people don't show up at McDonald's does not open. So McDonald's is really, and all companies are about the employees, right? So I've had some companies that we didn't have the right team around the widget. And so that's what I've learned is it's not as simple as me as the leader who has been very successful with many companies. It's not as simple as just saying simply, hey, I know the price, let's go out and sell it. You need the right team around that. And so it's very true within organizations, or much like baking a cake. Cakes I love, obviously, by my physical fitness or physical look.
You actually look pretty good.
I've been working hard on that, by the way.
Yeah, you're looking great.
But, if you bake a cake and it tastes awesome, right? And then you go, well, what's the best part of the cake? Well, the sugar, right? So next time you bake the cake, you might as well put in twice as much sugar.
Wow.
But that cake won't turn out, will it?
Yeah.
Right? So you've ruined this recipe. So companies, really, really dynamic and powerful companies, have the right ingredients at the table. And sometimes when they're really, really large, your ingredients are smaller, right? So they can't be as disruptive. But when you're a small organization, 10 or 20 people or even a handful of people, the ingredients have to be to perfection. Yeah. And so that's really what I've learned about the dynamics between success and you have to have a product that you can be successful with. Obviously, if nobody's buying microphones anymore, then you're not going to be successful, right? So there's other dynamics to it, but you understand the widget kind of concept or story, and that's really what at the heart of when I look at a business, it's really who's there to unlock the door, greet the customers, customer service, all those things. I'm not able to be there unless I just do a one-man band. That would, of course, be different.
Definitely. No, that's such a great analogy. And I have another question, a follow-up question for you. But let me tell you guys, this follow-up question is brought to you by Miapa Latin Cafe, especially in Alachua County. Our Miapa Latin Cafe family, they are doing a wonderful and beautiful building right now at the city of Alachua, where we all live, because I also belong to Alachua. I know we do a lot of stuff with Gainesville, but I belong to Alachua. And right now, they shout out to Miapa Latin Cafe, bringing this incredible, this is one of my favorite questions and points that we're going to debate on this. So shout out to them and make sure that you check out the new building that is coming up in a couple of months. So let's tap into this question that said, how do you balance risk taking with responsibility, especially when building something meant to serve a community?
Well, first I started out with breakfast at Miapa. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's what you have to do. And then
cortadito, right?
It leads into lunch.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So I love Miapa, by the way.
Yeah.
They're great people and a great business. So, it is on the real estate side, it's, there is, obviously you have to have a lot of people involved. There's engineers and architects and different things. But what I did in the beginning for San Felasco Tech City, believe it or not, is I bought a lot of pizza and beer. And a lot of people don't know this story. But the fact of the matter is, I was doing a podcast about 8 or 9 years ago, something like that. I don't know. It was certainly 8 years ago, before podcasts were cool.
Oh, wow.
And some of them are on Facebook. We did a bunch of them. We live streamed them on Facebook. We had about 30 to 50 people in the audience. And then we had a live stream as well. And I'm not saying it was any good, but we were doing podcasts just before anybody did podcasts. It was crazy that that's the world today. But that's funny to talk about. But what I learned out of that is I started interacting with a lot of the students, a lot of the people in the hub, people with startup ideas and creativity, and I started listening. I started really truly using my ears instead of my mouth, because I feel like I kind of knew everything as it relates to because my father had done it. My father developed over 6,000 acres in Alachua County.
Wow.
So, it's like, hey, put in a road, put some buildings, whatever, right? It's like, nope, I'm going to do it different. And so we knew companies were leaving through what they called the Tampa Bay Wave. A lot of people were taking their companies to Tampa. Rich and I got together and said, hey, there's no buildings or ecosystem, if you will, that are going to take these companies in affordably with flexibility. A lot of the cool stuff we're doing at Tech City in terms of accommodation for companies to be able to come quickly, execute on their vision, and actually grow their company within the development. So I started with grabbing 10 people at a time, and we would literally buy pizza and beer, and we'd sit in a room and we would storyboard, and we'd say, hey, if we do this, what would you want? And if you did this, what would you want? And we started kind of throwing paper down and saying, hey, what about? And so what I learned was the Gen Z, X, and Millennials are much more experiential. So they're like, for me to climb on a plane when I was their age and go to some foreign country was not going to happen. Nowadays, they do it without even thinking. They'll walk into a forest without a map, right? And so they'll literally go and have they'll jump out of planes, they'll climb mountains, they'll hike and bike and just rock climb, and they'll do all kinds of stuff, skiing, snow skiing, water skiing, whatever. And it's not like one discipline. They're doing a lot of different things. They're traveling the world, catching their pictures of themselves in front of, and all through Europe. I mean, all that's going on. And so we learned, like, hey, we can't just build an office building, right? So that's where we said, wait a minute, what are we going to do as far as walking trails and a brewery and a cafe and a preschool with people and living, and all of these things started coming in, and I call it ribboning, ribboning, which is not a word, by the way. But I put a ribbon through the development that connects all these pieces. So when you look and you just lift off the pedestrian corridors, you realize that they're connecting pieces from the housing to the development to the walking trails and all of that. We just signed a deal last week for a health and fitness club out there.
Wow.
Yep. So there's coming. That'll be up in a year. And of course, we have 65 companies out there. But to your point, how did we kind of get here? It was really the ability to mastermind what the Gen Z X millennials are really looking for, not what I would want or what I thought I would want. I actually love it because it's very fun, and there's a lot. I mean, we have a farmer's market out there every Wednesday. We have food trucks 6 days a week. There's all kinds of activities going on. It's amazing, and the tenants themselves take a lot of these things on. Like the farmer's market, I have nothing to do with. It's inspired by Beaker and Flask, the wine bar. And so, they recognize that this is something that their folks would love to have. Yeah. And then folks who go to that can go enjoy a nice glass of wine.
That's awesome because let me tell you guys, San Felasco Tech City, as Mitch just mentioned, you can find like literally everything. You have summer camps, after school programs like Okito America.
Yep.
Well, you also have now this cafe place that is wonderful, by the way. You have the brewery. Yep. You can also get food at this place. And you have everything. You are surrounded by an incredible community that is right there living next to you. And imagine you having a business in a community that it already have its own community. And that's why it comes to this question. I wanna ask you, Mitch, what does it mean, the term sustainable community, to you personally?
Yeah. So it's very difficult under, existing law, that we don't have a well out there, as an example. So the water's coming from the city, and so that part and the wastewater also has to be treated by not by a septic tank or anything like that. So that is kind of offloaded by my hands being tied by doing anything else out there. But on the energy side of things, we are it's an 82-acre campus. It's the largest self-sustained energy-producing campus in the world.
Wow.
Okay, with over 220 countries in the world, it's the only one we've been able to even come close to finding. So we're producing more energy on campus via solar. We have extremely large bifacial solar array. I think it's the largest in the world, which means in the same piece of glass, there's solar film catching refractive energy from Earth's surface, the bounce of the energy, along with a piece of solar film that faces the sun side. So we're catching that bifacial array. And so we're able to capture enough energy to power the entire place. So when you come and look at Fracture's production facility, when you look at the Beaker and Flask or Brewery or Okito America or any of the 65 companies that are out there, every single one of them is 100% run on energy that's produced at San Felasco Tech City by solar.
Wow.
Yes, it's very impressive. We just had a true up, and we produced over 300,000 kilowatts of extra energy last year, over and beyond what we actually used, which is just incredible.
At that point, what do you do with that energy that is extra? How does it work?
Okay, it's a good question. So we do have a meter. Okay, yeah. We do have a meter. It's 1 meter at the property. Yeah. And so one of two things is happening. For overproducing, there's a meter that reads us what we're sending out to the grid. And so when that energy goes out and goes to my neighbors and that gets read, then the utility charges them. I make nothing off of them.
Okay.
Makes sense? Okay. But if I'm at night, there's no solar. So during the day, I'm sending tons of energy out. And at night, I'm taking some of it back.
I see.
Gotcha. Okay. And so what they do is they read them and they go, oh, you produced more than you took, right? So it's a sum total of the two. And so we let it run for a year because some months are, the days are longer and shorter and all that. And so it's like an egg carton. It just kind of rolls into the next little bucket.
Yeah.
And so then at the end of in February or March, I think it's February, there's the true up. And then March, they come and we do a settlement on the energy.
Yeah, and the reason I ask you because I heard these some places they actually have some extra energy and they can even sell it. I don't know if that's true or not.
So, not in the state of Florida.
Okay.
I wish that were the case. I would definitely, yeah. No, in the state of Florida, it's a monopoly. Every, GRU has their GRU footprint, and Duke Energy and Clay Electric and Florida Power and all.
Yeah.
They have monopolies. So, no, they are the utility of record, and yes, they're very. They don't want to give up that power.
They're very unique.
Yeah.
So I want to tap into rent pricing and real estate because we see obviously the inflation, the economy. We all know what is happening. Yes. Not only across the United States, the United States, but also around the world. Really. So now. I want to talk about the rent prices. The last time I went to San Felasco Tech City, the rent there, guys, is like crazy cheap compared to most places.
That's correct.
The inflation continues, and what it used to be $850 rent apartment, now it is $1,200, $1,500. Now you even have this luxury apartment. What about San Felasco? I can't wait to hear from you. How is the rent right now? If I want to have like an office, or even if I want to have one of your beautiful apartments now, you have apartments. So let's talk about this. Come on.
So, so you talked about two things. One is residential, the other is office. Yeah. So we do have pretty much three concepts. There's two on the commercial side. One is you get, let's say, 5,000 square feet, you sign a 5-year lease, we negotiate it out. We're very aggressive on our pricing. It is turnkey, so you get square peg and square hole. So when you come in and you go, we have architectural services, we hand walk everything. You pick your flooring, your ceiling, your colors, your doors, your carpets, your bathroom tiles, your cabinets for your break rooms. All of that is chosen by the tenant. So we have services for that. So that's no additional charge. That makes the process very, very smooth. So we hold the client's hand per se through the process, and then we turn over the keys to them, and then they move in. All they have to do is move in their furniture. We're not the only ones that do this in the market, but it is one of the few. And not a lot of people will take the painstaking effort to do all of those pieces. So we have an architect on retainer, and so we can bump them up. They'll be at the meetings. We can give as many iterations as possible. We can move walls and rooms and give renderings and all that. So that is a more traditional style 5-year lease. We just did a 9-year lease. So anywhere from 5 to 10 years typically. And then there's renewals on top of that. But our pricing is very aggressive. I'm not going to dance around it. And we do have a very good package in terms of building space very economically. So we're taking, right now we're building another 60,000 square feet of space all at one time. So when you build that, you have one project manager. You don't have one project manager on, a 3,000 square foot building. You have one project manager on 60,000 square feet of building. And so the economies of scale are greatly enhanced by that. So that's on the commercial side. We do have two projects. One's called Launchpad and the other's called Tech Village. And I think that's what you're talking about. We do 4-month rolling leases. So if you come in, it's a shared space. The smallest office, I think 120 square feet, all the way up to about 800 square feet or so. And then you get these beautiful access to boardrooms, coffee bars, and of course the bathrooms and all the paper products and the water and the sewer and the electric and the internet. All that's baked in and included. So for a small startup, they love that because they just pay one and they're done. And it's very, like our small office, $410.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's still, I remember we spoke about this like 4 years ago.
It has not gone up much.
It is $410.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow.
And you get access to all of that. And of course, all the assets to San Felasco Tech City as well, the walking trails and all the other businesses that are out there and the cafe and whatnot. But so there's that product again and it's a rolling 4 months. So all the tenant has to do is give us a 4-month notice and they can be out of the lease. Or what most of them do is they say, hey, I'm going from the small office to a medium office, the medium to a larger, and then eventually they get their own big space, which we're seeing now. We have one of our original clients is now signed a deal for 15,000 square feet, and they started really small.
Wow.
That's how good they're doing. It's that kind of thing that Tech City helps people achieve because it's the same landlord most landlords wouldn't want, like this office here, the landlord's not going to want to lose this lease to another developer.
Yeah.
But if the developer's the same, you lose this one, but you gain this one, then you're like, hey, as long as it's working for you.
Exactly.
Right? So Tech City has that. And then on the housing side of things, we have a very similar product, and it is very affordable. They're all leased. They're 1, 2, and 3 bedroom homes. They're all separate. They're not apartments. They have garages. They all have 2-car garages, charging stations, and the whole 9 yards. And it's inclusive of water, sewer, electric, internet, video services, pest control, lawn care, taxes, insurance, everything, and you're one and done.
Wow.
And so it's a product that really people like, because even myself at my own home, I feel like every time I go to the mailbox, there's a bill, and every one of those items I just mentioned are a separate bill.
Yeah.
I mean, water and sewers together, but you get the point. And so it's just constantly writing checks, or, automated, or you have to keep up with your checking account, whereas you can just do one and done, and you know that all those bills are paid. So that's not a new concept. Down the street here at the University of Florida, they do those by the bedrooms. But you rent a bedroom and it's all one done, right? The utilities are included and everything, which works very well for a student. And they do like a 4, and then they have a shared little kitchen and living space. We decided to do the whole home that way, and it has worked really well.
Wow. So, guys, now you know why San Felasco Tech City might be for you. It is actually for you. Whatever you're looking for, either residential or you are looking to expand your business and have a wonderful space office. Brand new, by the way. You get inside, you feel this energy, this brand new, the smell, the feeling, surrounded by business professionals. It's all incredible. But now let's talk about Alachua, the city of Alachua. You're very passionate about the city of Alachua. You have and you are investing so much of yourself into the city of Alachua. I don't know if you that are living in Alachua are noticing, but your leadership, your investment, not only financially, but I mean in every single nonprofit, large, small events, small businesses. You are now the president of the Chamber of Commerce. Is that right?
No, I've handed that baton off. But I did do it for 3 years.
For 3 years, exactly. So what does the city of Alachua means to you?
Yeah, so, I mean, I grew up here, right? And it's funny because we used to go to lunch up there. Well, we went there as children, there were different restaurants that we would go up there and so forth. But, of course, it was, perceived as out of town kind of thing, when Gainesville was smaller. For us, we looked at a couple different, we knew that we needed to do something to save Fracture from leaving even the state of Florida, okay? We knew that we needed to do something that kept some of the brightest minds in the world right here if they wanted to stay.
Yeah.
I don't think I mentioned, but my brother graduated first class of computer sciences at the University of Florida.
Wow.
What I say is back in the 1900s. But no, it was in the 70s. In the 70s, first class, and there was nothing for him there was no Tech Cities, right? There was no Hub. There was no Sid Martin. There was nothing. And so, so my brother had to move away to California and start his company in Silicon Valley, and he could have done that here had there been opportunity. So Rich and I got together and said we need to do something, and that's kind of what happened. So we were looking at the dynamics of Gainesville and the surrounding communities, Newberry inclusive, and other places. And we had a place in Gainesville, and then we started doing our due diligence to figure out, like, how quick can we do this? Well, turns out that Alachua, I went up there, bought the land, and 9 months later, we were celebrating.
Yeah. Wow.
Right? And so, I've been through processes in Gainesville where it took me 4 months to get a building permit. And not to beat up Gainesville, I'm just saying the dynamics are different, their goals are different, their aspirations and their KPIs, their benchmarks of what they want the community to be are very, very different than what I'm doing. I'm not saying they're not supportive of what I'm doing. I'm just saying it doesn't. You can't do solar trees in Gainesville, Florida. Now, you can't do solar trees in a lot of communities, not just Gainesville, because code was written that all solar had to be on a building or behind the building and not seen by the general public. Or masked as much as possible. Whereas I flip that. I put it front and center. I make it artistic. I make it beautiful. And and I call it celebrating solar, right? So
Wow.
when you come to Tech City, you see the promenade or you see the solar trees. I think we have 26 solar trees out there. They are representative of what we're trying to actually celebrate. And so again, I'm not dinging Gainesville at all, but it's not
Just a different system. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not positioned to accept the kind of open-minded development that we're doing. Candidly, you can go into Beaker and Flask, you can go into any one of the businesses out there. You literally could live inside of it because the zoning allows for that.
Oh, wow.
Okay. You can go into a home and you can actually open your office there. So you could live there and have your office without any fanfare, no rezoning or anything. Or you could have just a straight business there. And so what happens is really, if you think about it, it's like, wow, I never thought about it that way. So the living room becomes a reception area. The kitchen becomes a break room, right? The bedroom becomes an office. And so it's just nomenclature. We just change the labels and the function works.
That's so cool. You mentioned Rich a couple of times, and I would love to shout out to Mitch Glaeser, your business partner and co-founder, right, of San Felasco Tech City. Such a great human being, also very giving and always giving back to the community. Many organizations and nonprofits. One of them just happened, right? The
Lyrics for Life.
Lyrics for Life. I've been part of that a couple of years, and I love being part of that.
Raised over $800,000 for cancer research. Yeah,
awesome. Awesome.
Very much
I love it. So I wanted to shout out to Rich and everything that he does as well. So let's talk about the future of work, tech, and also community. What is it that you like about tech companies? Because I know you get super excited when, there is like tech companies around. Well, it's called San Felasco Tech City. Yeah, right. Hello, right?
Right. So at the core of what I really do now, so in 2017, September 17th of 2017, I, quote, retired, which a lot of my friends laugh at because I'm so busy. But what I did is I got rid of my internet at home, I got rid of my computer at home, and I got rid of my alarm clock at home. And so I changed my lifestyle. My home is my retreat, my place to be with the one the woman that I care about. And so it changed the whole dynamic of what home was, right? And then when I go to the office, I can get behind a screen and I can do my emails or whatever. But I don't carry a calendar. My calendar this minute is on my desk at the office. So if you said, hey, what are you doing? I don't even know, because I really don't calendar a bunch of things. Certainly calendared today, but it wasn't set by an early morning where I had to worry about an alarm clock or whatever. So from that moment on, it was funny. The next day, I was like, what changed? Well, a lot changed from the home front. That is true because you don't have internet at home. You don't have, you don't have a lot of things at home if you don't have the internet, right? And like a lot of TV shows and whatnot. The bottom line, though, is nothing really changed. I found that my shoulders felt light and I felt happy. But it enabled me to focus on helping companies thrive. And they really don't have to be a tech company. Yeah. I will help any company thrive. And if it involves Tech City, I'll be more involved. If it's Alachua, I'll be involved. If it's Gainesville, Alachua County, I'll be involved. If it's beyond that, you're kind of on your own. But I really love seeing people take their dream, their passion, and then manifest it into reality, right? Yeah. And that's really taking the spirit of entrepreneurship to the ultimate level where people, is it making your own beer and selling it to the public? Is it, I don't know. We have a lot of medical device companies. So one of them has a new disc replacement, goes through the belly button, half the time, half the cost, half the recovery. Wow. That's awesome, right? So I love seeing that person that wants to mastermind that to get it into hospitals and doctors and into people to help them live a better life. And so back to Grandpa Mitchell, right? I mean, it's part of that, seeing a better community out of it, right? So families thrive out of it. People live a better lifestyle. Just our schools become better. Everything's better. And so that's at the heart of it, quite honestly. Yeah. It's really helping or seeing or being by their side or patting them on the back. Yeah. But I love to see them thrive.
And we have talked about, obviously, the principles and the core values and what you have learned from your family. We haven't talked about what we are missing in this day and time. Right now, in 2025, let's say someone that is wanting to become an entrepreneur, right, is watching or is going to watch this 2 years from now. We are in 2025. This is March. What do you think we're missing of that person that is about to launch a business might be missing?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you the biggest void right now in our community, and this goes really across the country, and it had a lot to do with COVID and has a lot to do with technology, actually, people looking at their tablets more than looking up and around. Or their phones, and that is real, genuine community leadership. So back when I was, growing up here and everything, you could name off 20 people that moved mountains, and they would organize and they'd say, hey, we're going to work on this initiative, and then they would all get together and they would make it happen. Right now, and I don't want, I could name a few people, but then somebody's going to be watching and go, well, you didn't name me. But the point is, honestly, there's very few. There's very few without, and our politics have become so vitriolic. I mean, so just awful. And the extremes have become so awful. And that has not helped either, because when I talk about leadership, I'm talking about people that can pick up the phone and anybody will answer. Certainly there are great leaders in our community, but they're going to have already carved off 40% because they're on one side of the political spectrum or another. And you get pigeonholed very quickly because of social media. You get attacked very easily. You for a long time you could get cancel cultured very easily. One mistake, one pivot, one move, one statement can get you in a heap of trouble. I used to truly be a lot funnier, but I almost stay away from jokes anymore because
people are very sensitive.
I mean, if you talk about the ant crossing the road, the little ant crossing the road and gets hit, you're going to get a person that cares about ants to freak out, right? And so everything, serious.
No,
every joke there's something that's taking the brunt of it, right?
There's a line for every joke,
right?
It's crazy, And
so, it's interesting times. The biggest void, and I know that wasn't really your question, but honestly, the biggest void is leadership. If I was to inspire anybody young, I would tell them to get involved. Get involved. And follow your passion. I don't even want to, it's funny. There are organizations that might be better at networking, but are you really going to care, right? No. There's organizations that are smaller of impact, but maybe it's something you love. I would say go for that. It could be, your, religious beliefs. Follow those. It could be it could be community involvement. It could be volunteerism. It could be being on a board. It's interesting. I was on the board of directors for the Guardian Ad Litem. Okay, great organization. And I remember when I got on it, I was, in my mid-20s or whatever, young 20s actually. And I was like, yeah, but I've never been a Guardian Ad Litem. And they said, that doesn't matter. And I said, but I don't, I didn't really have a passion to be a Guardian Ad Litem, to be honest. I just didn't have the time. It just wasn't. They said, we don't care. You're very, very good at fundraising. And they saw the asset, and we went from raising, we were raising a few $1,000s a year to, quite a few $1,000s a year, and really set the stage to have bigger impact. And I ultimately became, chair of the board, and that was a great experience for me. But I started small. I got involved. I was volunteering in the fundraising aspect, right? Not necessarily with children, but I love children and all that. It just didn't fit me. And what I'm telling you is for a young person to follow their passion, be true to it. Don't get on a dozen of them. Get on one or two or something you can have greatest impact. Become a leader of the community. Yeah. That is the key element, in my opinion. Be somebody highly regarded and respected, and do it through just honest integrity.
That's awesome. And you mentioned at some point within your answer, you mentioned also coaching, Okay.
Yep.
Let's talk
Mentorship.
about mentorship, coach, and leadership.
Yeah.
That's a big aspect of becoming a great leader. You need a
Yeah.
great coach in your life because
Yeah.
remember, everyone say, "Hey, Muhammad Ali was the greatest," but he never went there without his coach on his corner, Angelo Dundee. Remember the name? It's the same with Jordan and Phil Jackson, right?
Right.
Michael Jordan, but
Yeah.
never ever was Jordan without Phil Jackson, or he wouldn't
Right.
even play. So. Who has been one of your greatest coach in your life?
So I've got several. There's, when Phillips recently passed away, he was at the University of Florida. Certainly a huge impact to me. I mean, people like Representative David Flagg, huge impact to me. Tom Malini at M&S Bank was a huge impact to me. So I've had several over my lifetime. Obviously, it was funny. I was with somebody earlier this morning, and we were talking about the same kind of conversation and like, how do you become a better even person, right? And I said, well, what I've found is take the dynamic, and I'll share a personal story that relates to this. But you take the dynamics of positives and negatives and you strip it away and you say, hey, I like that. So the closest thing is your parents, right? So we learn, we emulate, we really learn a lot from our parents. And there is a lot of good and bad that we absorb from our parents. The key for me is to recognize what those strengths and weaknesses are, strip them away and say, hey, am I disciplined enough? Am I smart enough to do what my parents did? Or, hey, am I smart enough to do to stay away from what my parents did?
Wow.
And I had the most amazing upbringing. I have the most incredible parents that anybody could ever ask for. But truthfully, my father was an alcoholic.
Wow.
And so he was what they call a functioning alcoholic. He'd come home, he'd work, and he would just drink all night, right? And then kind of pass out. He didn't drink for about the last 40 years of his life. So he really took the challenge on. He went through several programs, but one day he just woke up and he said, I'm done. And never had a drop. He wouldn't even eat any kind of food that was cooked with alcohol kind of thing, very, very disciplined. The moral of the story is, I do not want that in my life.
You learn from that.
I learned from that.
Wow.
So, that in of itself is kind of what you have to extract from, and you talk about mentorship, right? So really good mentors take those elements of life and recognize, hey, I had a friend one time who was an alcoholic. You really ought to consider making sure that if you do that, you do it in moderation. You certainly don't want to drink and drive. You certainly don't want to do, and hey, by the way, you're the leader of your organization. How much are you drinking around them, right? Even though it's legal. There's nothing wrong with drinking. I have a drink every so often, but it's not going to be to a point where I'm not in full control, right? And so mentorship, which I did the advanced group. I've done several, startup groups out of the University of Florida, a lot of students. I get asked a lot, and I am considering doing another advanced group, which would be another couple years of, commitment on my part. But no, we've done that. Rich and I have both done that.
Well, I remember we had a good group, a networking media group.
Yes,
we used to get every 3 or 2 weeks.
Yes, right.
And that was
Correct.
awesome. We loved doing that.
Yeah, and we would get 40 or 50 people there, and so that was writers and actors and makeup people and videographers and podcasters and TikTokers and the whole 9 yards, right? I mean, movie makers. His name escapes me right now, but there's been 2 full-length movies made at Tech City and over 12 music videos made at Tech City.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and
incredible.
one of them was on Tubi, was on the top 10 of Tubi.
That's
Actually,
awesome.
yeah. So,
And talking about this topic of books, of coaching, of mentorship, leadership, what's one book?
good, great.
One book or quote that you think that deeply has influenced your life and your leadership style, the way
funny.
you project.
So I'm not good at memorizing specific quotes or books. There's lots of great books. You need to get John Spence. John Spence knows what books for who and how and all that. He's a very well-read man. I'm just gonna be candid. I'm not really well-read. I love Mickey Singer's books, and then I've read a few of the greats, right? For me, the one thing, it's actually, having said that, I don't have a lot of quotes in my head. I do have something that I live by and I actually say, and it resonates with me. It doesn't resonate with a lot of people. It's not like you're going to see it. But it's one, that I've come up with, and that is, life is a bundle of priorities. And so everything that you're doing today, every single thing that you do is priority over anything else.
Yeah.
You're here because you probably want to feed your kids, air condition, and some travel, right? So you monetize your talent, which you're very good at, and you do that. Otherwise, you'd be fishing or whatever. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So life is a bundle of priorities. So when you look back at yesterday, you say, well, that was the priority of the day, right? Yeah. So everything's going to be in that. And so when we talk about that, and when I talk to people about it, it's like, think about that. So I'm literally going to get in my vehicle and I'm going to drive somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? And that is going to be the priority. I could go home, I can go Key West, I can go get on a plane and go to Paris. I don't know. What's my priority? Right?
That's a good philosophy to live by.
I think it's great. Yeah. And I literally go through, and I mean, when we get asked to do something and there's conflict, which is the priority.
Exactly.
Right? And so it just is a mindful, fun way to look at life. And I did have, I did motivational speaking around the world for 3 years.
Actually, you're a great keynote speaker, and we haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, thank you. So, yes, I did that for 3 years. I was actually out of the country during 9/11, which was it's too long a story, but what a crazy experience, maybe another day. But I do have a book that's half written, and I did a thing that was pretty fun. I would go in and do, large groups of people or whatever, and I would say, get on stage and I'd say, how many of you are in a rut? And they would, everybody's hand would go up because they were there because their owners sent them there to be motivated. So it was this loaded question. And I said, and I would take them through, I won't take you through it, but I'd take them through the perfect or a horrible day. I'm late to work. The cat got killed. The kid's sick. Threw up in the car. I hit a car. I killed a cat. I don't know, whatever. It always is worse. It's just a horrible day. And then I contrast that against what we would call the perfect day, where you woke up and your spouse was happy and the kids were happy and everybody got off to school and you crushed it at work and you just had this amazing day, right? And so I nicknamed that the sexy rut, because we live our lives in ruts, right? And so people are like, I'm in this rut. And it was always taken as a negative. But if you think about it, if you created a perfect relationship with your spouse, a meaningful relationship with your children, a valuable relationship with the one you believe in, your higher being, right? If you start putting those pieces together and you make mindful priorities, right? You can create that perfect day, which then turns into a perfect week, which turns into a perfect lifestyle. And then you create that discipline so deep that becomes a rut. And so I nicknamed it the sexy rut, because who doesn't like something sexy, right? So anyways, when I think of the mentorship, when I think of books, when I think of quotes, and when I think about living my life, I think about designing my life. Rich and I talk about this a lot, actually, personally. What life are we going to design for each other, right? Not for each other, but he's going to design his, I'm going to design mine. He's married, so he and his wife figured that out. What does that designed relationship look like? A purposeful, meaningful relationship. And so I love, in fact, when I was talking to the publisher, I called it Turning Points. And he goes, no, we're not doing Turning Points. And I said, what are we doing? He goes, we're doing the Sexy Rut. And so that would be the title of the book. But
Sexy Rut.
It does illustrate a mental mindset of like how you live your lifestyle. So when I mentor people, it's not just on the business side of things, because it all, I remember having an employee and she would come in and go, oh, my husband did this. And I'm like, you're bringing your home stuff to work. And then she'd go home and tell her husband, oh, work was horrible today and then she's and so what I learned from that, believe it or not, work and home go together.
Yeah.
Happy work, happy home, happy home, happy work. And so you when we mentor people, I think it's really, really important for them to understand the dynamics. It's a full package. It's a full day. It's a full week. It's a full life.
Wow. That's a great lesson. That could be the lesson of the day. That really is a mindset. It's a mentality. What it takes. Let's talk. You mentioned fun. What Mitch likes to do? I like to really. Besides making jokes, we already know that. But to really have fun, Mitch.
No, I travel quite a bit, and
where do you like to travel?
Well, I've traveled as far. I did actually motivational over in Bucharest, Romania, as far away. I've been all through Holland and.
I don't think I can say that word. Say it again.
Romania. You say it.
No, I can't say that.
You just have to roll your R.
Oh my goodness, no, Romania.
Yeah,
I can say that.
No,
Romania.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's
not
good.
the way you say it, but that's okay. No, I snow ski, and I just got back from Portland. My nephew just started a golf simulator company where they have a bunch of simulators up and so forth. But no, I love hiking. I love anything outdoors. I go hot air ballooning. I go whitewater rafting. I just went horseback riding. I'm pretty eclectic. I do like traveling is my number one thing, and I like finding those little hole in the walls that create a story. I always love stories. You know me well enough. I tell stories ad nauseum, almost too much, where people are, another Mitch story. But no, it is. I do love to travel, and that brings me possibly the most happiness.
That's awesome.
I just went on a cruise, and what's really funny. So my sister-in-law is battling cancer.
Oh, wow.
And so, hey, let's go on a cruise. Let's have some fun. So we all said, and then my mother said she would go. She's 88 years old, sharp as a tack, and so forth. So I said, okay, the one thing, and you talk about fun, the one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chaperone my mother. So I actually said, I'll go on the cruise, and I'll make sure that Mom is safe so that Christopher and Yolanda can go off and do their thing and so forth, and others and whatnot. But anyway, so I was by my mother's side, so she'd get up and I'd say, what time you want breakfast or whatever. So we go and we go to breakfast, with everybody pretty much. But this is hilarious. So anyways, what else you want to do? We'll do this, do that, do this, do that. Well, the evening would come and we'd go to the show or whatever. And she's like, well, I'd like to go to the casino. I'm like, okay, we'll go to the casino. So we go to the casino, of course, go to the penny slot, something cheap. She gets on there and I'm every single night of this cruise, I am not exaggerating. I would go, Mom, it's 10 minutes after 2 o'clock in the morning. An 88-year-old woman is actually going further than I'm like exhausted. I'm just like, Mitch, you're here for your mother to have fun, okay? So I was like, as long as you want to stay, Mom, as long as you want to stay. So she's like, oh, wow, well, I was having so much fun. I didn't realize it was so late.
Oh, my God.
And she's like ready to go dancing. I mean, it's just crazy. And you've met her. But anyways, so we would go, she'd go to the rooms and she says, well, what time is everybody getting together for breakfast? I'm like, breakfast? How about we do lunch, So she's like, no, we need to be with everybody. So we would wake up early. I mean, we'd get like 4 hours sleep or something crazy, maybe 5, 6 hours, whatever. But we'd get up and we'd go have breakfast. And then the whole day was just go, 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 go. And so anyways.
That's so funny.
No, I'm not short on having fun. It's funny. I do live alone, and people mix that up with being lonely. I am not lonely. Like, I have plenty of friends and plenty of things to do and all of that. So, anyways.
That's cool. I want to ask you some quick fun questions about that. Coffee or tea during long planning sessions?
Oh,
coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee all the way.
All the way?
Yeah.
Okay. Cuban food or sushi?
Oh, do I have to be honest with you?
Of course, Miapa is in the screen. Come on.
Well, wow. I love Miapa better.
Yo, All right, there you go, Peter. There you go. That's a shout out once again.
I love Peter.
He's cool,
great.
Awesome.
I will say, yes, I love Miapa, and we do eat there, and the plantains. Oh, everything is just amazing, and their Cuban sandwiches. Oh my God. Anyways, I'm getting in trouble because I do love sushi, though.
I love sushi.
I have to say, sushi is probably one of my favorite foods on the planet.
Yeah, no, me too.
Yeah.
I love sushi.
Does Peter know that? He does now.
He does now, but I love Miapa. I did say that.
Yeah.
So you could build a community anywhere in the world.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
next. Anywhere, whatever you want, okay? What that place on planet Earth would be.
Okay, so what would it look like, you mean?
Well, what place? I mean, you could build a community anywhere in the world. Where that place would be?
Well, you can't help but want to be part of the Dubai story.
Ah.
Right? I mean, they're doing just completely mind-bending projects out there. Yeah. And also, good, bad, or indifferent, there's some pretty incredible developments in China as well that are just spectacular. I will say on the development side for us, what I would envision, Rich and I are currently masterminding a community called Tech Town, which is 3 times the size of Tech City.
Wow.
It's kind of a 2.0. And we're looking at even like, ports for flying cars and different things that would really accelerate the mindset of what a really fun, dynamic community would look like.
You said flying cars?
Yeah, so they're currently using them as like air taxis, and they're in use right now as we're speaking.
Yeah.
So they are vehicles. They're large drones. Think of it as a drone. The original concept, and there's still some chasing this, where they would have wheels and you could drive them and take off and lift off and so forth.
Wow.
But the weight of the wheels and the dynamics of suspension and all that create a lot of problems. Now, we'll ultimately get there, but most of them right now are point-to-point transportation. And so they're known as VTOLs or VTOL or air taxis. And so they're doing them in big cities. They're doing them in Dubai, where you get from across a river. It might have taken you an hour, in New York City or what, a community. It might take you a very long time by car or bus or any kind of other mode of transportation, but they can literally fly you across.
Wow!
And they're a lot cheaper than and safer than helicopters. Multi-prop. They're automated.
Wow.
And,
they need that in Miami desperately. Let me tell you, desperately.
Yeah.
They need that in Miami. So, Mitch, I have a couple of final questions for you. But a final thought, I wanted to ask you: if you go out the door now, okay, we finish here, and you open the door, and you meet the other Mitch that started with 16, 17 years old, when you actually were admiring the work of your grandfather, all the real estate, the lessons. You meet that guy, yes, right in front of you. Okay, what would you tell him?
Wow. Well, so not to sound, I'll be very transparent. I feel like I've gotten where I'm at because of mistakes I've made, right? And lessons I've learned. So I can't really contrast it to say, would I take that 16-year-old Mitch and be able to mold them any better? I don't know if the outcome would be, I'm not saying I've done the best at all. That's not what I'm saying. In fact, having all my flaws, I don't know what I would tell Mitch to do. Honestly. I mean, that's being very transparent. Because I think I'll give you, and I know I don't want to go over, but when I was in middle school, you have to remember the space program was huge. Apollo, I remember in front of a TV when Apollo 11, I guess, whatever it was. That's horrible to say, I don't remember the number. But anyways, when they landed on the moon. And I remember TV dinners we had, which is funny. And we were sitting in front of the one TV we had, and we were waiting, and it was like, it was midnight or whatever. It was very late in the night. I know that because I was struggling to stay awake. And as I remember the story, I'll just put it that way. And so But got to middle school, and everybody was not to be a doctor or lawyer. Everyone was, all the teachers were like, little Mitch, if you want to be anybody, you need to be smart so you can be an astronaut.
Wow.
Okay, true story. And in fact, that was pervasive in our culture. In America, you should be an astronaut. That was, everybody wanted to be an astronaut. You need to be an astronaut. The space shuttle program was emerging and so forth. And so I recognized, which I did fine in school. I mean, I was, I did fine. We'll just leave it at that. But I did look around and I realized I wasn't the smartest kid in the class. I wasn't even the smartest kid at my 4-person table. And I remember in middle school, I remember it like it was yesterday, I literally had a conversation in a bathroom mirror at my house that I was not going to the moon. I swear. I'm not. I swear on my mother's life that really happened.
Wow.
And I will tell you, at that point, I realized that I was going to have to out-hustle my competition. That it was just going to be straight up, whatever I did, surround myself with brighter people, hustle, and again, back to honesty, ethics, integrity. All those buzzwords, they matter. If I was telling Mitch 16, don't. I've never smoked pot. I'm not against it per se, but it's something that I think you don't have to engage in. Honestly, I mean, I just don't think it matters to being cool or successful or being high or experiencing or whatever. I'm just putting it out there, right? And so that's a true story, though. I really, really, and so I don't know what I would tell 16-year-old Mitch that had any difference, because I realized 16-year-old Mitch has lots of limitations. I have a lot of limitations.
And I really appreciate the answer, because I don't ask this to every single person, just right. So you know. But sometimes it's very meaningful for me to ask, especially you being an entrepreneur, being successful as you are, and I really appreciate the question, because you are actually allowing this Mitch to maybe make the same mistakes, so he can grow.
Right.
That's what I am getting from your answer.
That's true.
So I really appreciate the question, and you just mentioned successful, okay? And we're probably gonna I would say leave the tip of the day, or the message of the day, or the message of the podcast, successful. How success look like for you?
Yeah. So it certainly kind of goes back to what I'm doing now, and that's seeing the success of others. I mean, it's okay. Success to me is a person who is exceptionally satisfied at a very high level of whatever they're passionate about.
Wow.
That's it. There is no, and some people, it's about solving very complex medical issues. Some people, it's how many zeros they have in their bank account. Some people, it's, hey, I've got, I wanted 10 kids and I got 11. I'm so lucky. I don't know. It's whatever they're passionate about, and what they can personally identify as I do it well. That's success. Because there's no one person that's going to be able to define that in a texture way.
Yeah.
To say, you need to be married, you need to have 2.3 children, a golden retriever, a fenced backyard, and a, what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and a vacation home and whatever. I mean, it's, you've got to be able to honestly say, I have whatever makes me the most happy, that I achieved that.
That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Mitch Glaeser here at the Elio Piedra Podcast. This is the episode number 12. I'm
glad it's not 13. That would have been maybe you ought to go to 14.
Okay.
Yeah, skip 13. Just pretend it happened.
What's wrong with 13?
Unlucky.
Unlucky.
Unlucky number.
Unlucky number. That's right. If
you like on an elevator, you won't see number 13 floor.
Oh, that's right. Yep. What's your lucky day?
You can actually, if you want, let me give you a tip of the day, okay? Your next episode is episode 56.
Oh.
So it makes it sound like you've been doing it a long time.
Well, actually, you know what's funny? It's funny you say that, because I started. Yeah. It's funny you say that because actually this is kind of like another season of my journey.
That's true.
I started doing the morning coffee for a while actually, and then we calling started his own podcast and all of that. So it's been almost probably like 6 years, way before COVID. And I remember interviewing. It was a bilingual podcast, like in Spanish, in English, and chief of police, and you name it. And at some point I stopped and dedicated, my journey to the radio and to building, community. At some point I was like, I am missing something. And I deeply miss it. And it's how powerful is podcasting.
Right.
You can connect with people
Yes.
deeper level. And also we're giving the audience the opportunity to learn from you or someone like you. So I love it. And since we started, we're having a blast every Wednesday at 7 p.m. We have a new episode. That's why, ladies and gentlemen, I want to invite you to actually, click that subscribe button. Click there. Like the video, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell, because every single week we're bringing it to you, not only the Fiesta, all right, but also these stories, impactful stories about success, about motivation, about leaders. And you know what, about this season of this podcast is about community.
100%.
What Mitch you mentioned, community. We're bringing our local leaders, our local, successful entrepreneurs like Mitch, Hopefully we can get rich at some time, at some point. Yeah. And John Spence, a wonderful friend of ours, a wonderful leader that is making a difference for so many businesses, helping them get to the next level. So this podcast is about this. So it's about having people like you, leaders like you. So I really appreciate you.
This has been great.
Because I know how busy you are, and just, to make the time to come here and teach us all, educate us all, and learn from your stories. It's fascinating.
All you have to do is ask. I'll be happy to come back.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Do you think anybody will like the video? You pushed down that button down there.
Yeah, I think that she just did. What did you do?
One person.
Absolutely. Like it, and most importantly, share it. Share it. Yes, follow us on social media all over the place. By the way, San Felasco Tech City, let's talk about social media, because you've been on fire on LinkedIn, on YouTube. Let's talk about, if people want to learn more about everything that is coming up to San Felasco Tech City, what's the best way?
The easiest way is Mitch Glaeser. My LinkedIn, Mitch Glaeser.
And they will get the information.
They will get it all there, and then all the other tentacles will go off of that.
That's awesome.
LinkedIn, Mitch Glaeser is the best, and we do a lot of posts, as you know.
Yeah,
we keep up with it all,
and they're awesome. They're awesome.
Thank you.
I love it. I love the content. I love the watching, liking it, and sharing it. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. We really hope that we inspired you, that Mitch, with his stories and his growth and his journey. Also, you learn as much as I did. I really, as you notice, I really love, quietly listening to you and learning from your story. So I really hope you got something from this podcast, because this is what it is about, But also, I want to let you know that if you are looking to continue growing and continue that motivation, you got what it takes. You got what it takes to do it. Don't ever stop. This is the Elio Piedra Podcast. We're going to see you next time. Production, take it away.